Never sign papers when you're in pain. I learned this lesson at 68 years old, lying in a hospital bed, pen shaking in my hand, about to sign documents that would have ruined my life forever. But then a nurse I'd never met before leaned close and whispered 4 words that changed everything. Don't sign the papers. My name is May, and this is the story of how a stranger saved me from my own daughter. It started 3 weeks earlier when I fell in my kitchen. Not a dramatic fall, just a stupid slip on some water I'd spilled while making tea. My hip cracked against the tile floor, and the pain was immediate and sharp, like someone had driven a knife into my bone. I couldn't get up. I lay there for 20 minutes before I managed to crawl to the phone and call Rebecca, my daughter. She arrived 45 minutes later with her husband, Derek. No hug, no comfort, just that look on her face, the one that said I was an inconvenience. Again. "Mom, we need to get you to the hospital," she said, but her voice was flat, almost annoyed, like I'd interrupted something important. At the emergency room, they told me my hip was fractured. Surgery was needed. I would need months of recovery. Maybe physical therapy. Definitely help at home during the healing process. Rebecca's face changed when the doctor said those words. Help at home. I saw something flicker in her eyes. Not concern. Calculation. "Don't worry, Mom," she said, suddenly warm, suddenly caring. "We'll take care of everything." The surgery went well, or so they told me. Honestly, those first few days after the operation are a blur of pain medication and exhaustion. I remember Rebecca visiting twice, maybe 3 times. Derek came once and spent the entire visit on his phone. But there was one person who was always there, Nurse Carla. She worked the night shift, a woman in her early 50s with tired eyes but a genuine smile. She checked on me even when it wasn't necessary, adjusted my pillows without being asked, brought me extra water when my throat was dry. "You doing okay, sweetheart?" She'd ask every night around midnight when she made her rounds. I wasn't okay. The pain was manageable with medication, but something else hurt worse. The loneliness, the realization that my only daughter visited less than the cleaning staff. On the 5th day after surgery, Rebecca came in with Derek and a man I didn't recognize. He wore an expensive suit and carried a leather briefcase like he was someone important. "Mom, this is Mr. Patterson," Rebecca said with that fake cheerful voice she used when she wanted something. "He's a lawyer. We need to talk about your care plan." I was confused, groggy from the morning pain medication. "Care plan?" "Yes, Mom. You can't live alone anymore after this. We've been looking at facilities, and we found a really good one. But there's paperwork we need to handle first." Mr. Patterson opened his briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents. "Mrs. Reynolds, these are just standard forms to make the transition easier. Power of attorney documents, so Rebecca can manage your medical decisions and your finances while you recover." It's completely routine. Something felt wrong, even through the medication fog. Alarm bells were ringing in my head. "Why do you need power of attorney over my finances?" I asked. Rebecca sat on the edge of my bed, took my hand with fake tenderness. "Mom, you can't handle bills and banking while you're recovering. We just want to help, make things easier for you. But I can still think clearly. I can still make decisions." Derek spoke for the first time. "May, you're not getting any younger. These things need to be handled properly, legally." The way he said my name. Not Mom, just May. Like I was a stranger or a problem to solve. Made my stomach turn. "I need time to read these," I said, pushing the papers away weakly. "Mom, there's no time," Rebecca insisted, her voice getting harder. "The facility has a waiting list. If we don't secure your spot now, you might end up somewhere terrible. Do you want that?" I looked at the papers. So many pages. Legal language I didn't understand. My head was swimming. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was too old, too tired, too broken to handle things myself. I picked up the pen. That's when Nurse Carla walked in. "Oh, I'm sorry." she said, noticing the tension in the room. "I didn't realize Mrs. Reynolds had visitors. I'll come back later to check vitals." "Actually, we're almost done here," Rebecca said coldly. But Carla didn't leave. She moved around the room, adjusting things that didn't need adjusting, checking monitors that were working fine. And then she came close to my bed, leaning over to adjust my IV line, and whispered so quietly, I almost missed it. "Don't sign the papers." I froze, the pen still in my hand. "Mom?" Rebecca prompted. "Just sign at the bottom of each page where the tabs are." I looked at Carla. She was no longer looking at me, focused intently on the IV bag, but I saw the slight shake of her head. "No, I need my reading glasses," I said suddenly. "I can't see the words clearly." "Mom, you don't need to read it all. Mr. Patterson already explained everything." "I want my glasses." Rebecca's smile became tight. "Fine. Derek, go get her glasses from the house." "That'll take an hour," Derek complained. "Then it takes an hour," I said, stronger now. "I'm not signing anything I can't read properly." Mr. Patterson closed his briefcase with a click that sounded like disapproval. "Mrs. Reynolds, I have other appointments today. Perhaps we can reschedule when you're feeling more cooperative." After they left, the room felt 20 degrees warmer. I could breathe again. Carla was still there, checking my vitals with professional focus, not saying anything until she was certain we were alone. "Mrs. Reynolds?" she said quietly. "I apologize for interfering, but I've been a nurse for 28 years, and I've seen this exact situation too many times." "What situation?" She pulled up a chair and sat beside my bed. Children who suddenly become very concerned about their parents' care. But only when there are assets involved. Power of attorney documents that get signed when patients are medicated and vulnerable. Families who rush legal paperwork through before the patient can think clearly. My heart was pounding. "You think Rebecca is trying to take advantage of me?" "I don't know your daughter," Carla said carefully. "But I know that legitimate family care plans don't require expensive lawyers showing up during pain medication hours. They don't involve pressure and urgency, and they definitely don't involve trying to get someone to sign documents they haven't read." I sat with that truth for a long moment. What should I do? Carla handed me a business card. "This is a patient advocate, someone who helps people in your situation understand their rights. Call her tomorrow when your head is clearer, and don't sign anything until you've spoken with someone who represents your interests, not your daughter's." That night I barely slept, not because of pain, but because I was thinking, really thinking, about Rebecca's recent behavior, the way she'd been asking about my financial situation over the past year, the subtle hints that I should sell my house and simplify my life, the increasing irritation whenever I spent money on myself. I had a nice house paid off completely. I had savings from 40 years of teaching. I had a pension, not a fortune, but enough to live comfortably, enough to be worth stealing. The next morning, I called the patient advocate. Her name was Linda Chen, and she came to the hospital that afternoon. "Mrs. Reynolds," she said after I explained everything, "I need to ask you some difficult questions. Do you trust your daughter?" The question hung in the air like poison. "I want to," I whispered. "She's my only child." That's not what I asked. I thought about Rebecca's visits, how they'd decreased over the years unless she needed something, how she'd borrowed money twice in the past 5 years and never paid it back, how she'd suggested multiple times that I make her the beneficiary on all my accounts, just in case something happens. "No," I admitted. "I don't trust her," Linda nodded. "Then we need to protect you." Over the next week, Linda helped me understand exactly what those documents would have done. Power of attorney over my finances, medical decisions made without my input, the authority to sell my house, access to all my bank accounts. I would have signed away my entire life, while drugged and scared and trusting my own daughter. Linda helped me hire my own lawyer, not a friend of Rebecca's, but someone who represented only me. We put protections in place. My house went into a trust. My medical decisions remained mine alone unless I was unconscious. My bank accounts were secured. When Rebecca found out, she exploded. She came to the hospital the day before I was scheduled to be discharged, and the mask of concern was completely gone. "What did you do?" she demanded, not even pretending to be caring anymore. I protected myself. "From what? From your own daughter trying to help you? Help me." My voice was stronger than it had been in years. "You were trying to take control of everything I own." "It's going to be mine anyway when you die," she snapped. And there it was. The truth, raw and ugly. "Maybe it will be," I said quietly. "Or maybe I'll spend every penny on myself, on my recovery, on my life, on living in my own home with nurses I hire myself. That's my choice to make, not yours." Derek grabbed her arm. "Let's go, Rebecca. She's made her decision." As they walked out, Rebecca turned back one last time. "You're going to regret this, Mom. When you're alone and you need help, don't come crying to us." "I won't," I said. "I'll call people who actually care about me." I was discharged 2 days later, not to a facility that Rebecca had chosen, but to my own home with professional in-home care nurses. People I hired and paid for myself. Nurse Carla came to say goodbye on my last day in the hospital. "Thank you," I told her, holding her hand. "You saved my life." "I just did my job," she said. "But you saved yourself when you listened. Not everyone does." "Why did you warn me? You could have gotten in trouble," she smiled sadly. "Because my mother went through the same thing 15 years ago. She signed the papers. My brother took everything. She spent her last 3 years in a state facility, broke and alone, while he sold her house and spent her money. I swore after she died that I'd never let it happen to another patient if I could help it. That was 6 months ago. I'm 68 years old now, recovered completely from my hip surgery, and living in my own home. I've hired wonderful caregivers who help me with what I need without treating me like I'm incompetent. I've made new friends at physical therapy. I've started painting again, something I gave up decades ago." Rebecca sent a text message last month, short and cold. "Hope you're doing well." I didn't respond. Some people might think I'm cruel for cutting off my only daughter. But here's what I've learned at 68 years old. You can't buy love, and you can't force family to care. What Rebecca wanted wasn't a relationship, it was an inheritance. And I refused to spend my remaining years funding someone's greed while pretending it's love. I've set aside money in my will for a scholarship fund at the school where I taught for 40 years. The rest will go to medical charities and organizations that protect elderly people from financial abuse. Rebecca will get nothing. Not because I hate her, but because I finally love myself enough not to reward someone for trying to steal my life. I called Nurse Carla last week to thank her again. We met for coffee, and I learned she does this kind of advocacy quietly all the time, protecting patients who are vulnerable and alone in hospital rooms when families circle like vultures. "You should write about this," she told me. "People need to know this happens. It's not rare. It's an epidemic. So here I am writing this story, telling you what happened to me. If you're older and someone is rushing you to sign papers, stop. If family suddenly becomes interested in your finances, question it. If you feel pressured to make decisions while you're scared or medicated or in pain, wait. And if a nurse whispers, 'Don't sign the papers,' listen to her. She might just save your life, like Carla saved mine. My name is May. I'm 68 years old, and I'm finally free.